So, hello. We thought it was probably time to introduce ourselves. I'm Tim,
And I'm Karina.
and we are the proud owners of what was formerly Clair de Lune and is now called Delfine.
Delfine.
So, here we are. This is Delfine. We thought we'd share, someone had asked actually on one of the earlier videos a little bit about us and what are we doing. So we are Australian. We've lived in, where do we live? We lived in the US for 9 years in Silicon Valley, San Francisco. And then when COVID happened, we moved to Greece. We bought a boat and we've been living there on our boat for the last 3.5, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had this radical idea at the start of this year that we wanted to sort of share the lifestyle with people and that we really wanted to move onto a barge. And so
In mid-July, we packed up, 5 or 6 bags and brought all of our possessions across to Belgium. Landed here, had to scramble around and find a place to rent, get everything set up, get a company set up. And we had looked at a boat online that we were quite interested in, and we had visited it earlier. So then we were able to buy her at the end of July, which was pretty exciting.
it was. And yeah, why Belgium? Belgium because when we've sort of investigated this hotel barge business, which is really what we're doing as we renovate Delfine, we're turning her back into a hotel barge. We found that there were a lot of boats already in France. That market is quite competitive. There's not really space in the towns. But when we were speaking with people that sell these holidays in the US, they'd advised us and suggested that Belgium was an interesting place to be. And we also feel with climate change and a whole range of other things, France is getting very, very hot in summer. We've experienced that in the Mediterranean.
It was unbearable this summer, and the canals are drying up, so there's not enough water, and then you've got more boats sort of crowding into the canals where there is water, so there's more
Competition for
saturation.
spaces.
And
So
it just, when we heard Belgium, we kind of went, weird. Why not?
Yeah, that's right.
And of course, my immediate thought was, it's the land of beer and chocolate. What could go wrong? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
frites.
So,
Who doesn't love frites? Waffles, go for it.
yeah.
So,
And it's more of an expression of what we're like. We're more a kind of a beer and chocolate freak sort of person than a classy French
Camembert, wine, cheese, champagne. I mean, I love.
They're
it
still
all.
pretty good. They're still pretty good. But so anyway, that's what brings us here. So we thought we'd tell you just a little bit about Clair de Lune because some people are sort of
Delfine.
about Delfine, but we tell you the history of Clair de Lune because, as I was about to explain,
Okay.
some people have said, well, why change the name? She's
Right.
had that name for 30 years. A lot of people have quite liked it.
They have liked it. I think it's a kind of romantic name. It comes from a piece of music by Debussy, and it's very French. And
And now we're in Belgium.
it's like moonlight.
And I think the thing to sort of put perspective around that is that boats do change their name. So Delfine has had several names over her history, and we've been researching it. We've still got some more to go, but we know that she was built in 1907 here in Baz Road in Belgium. So we're really excited about bringing a Belgian boat back to Belgium.
And we didn't really know that when we bought her either.
No, it was a
so when we
complete
found
fluke,
out, it was just a feeling of fate or something, that, this is where she belongs.
So we don't know, from 1907 to sort of 1914, 15, 16, we don't know exactly what happened, but the first official record we have is her name was AS 270, and that's quite significant because we've discovered from talking to the museum in Antwerp, and then also a book that Karina ordered that she found through the Canal History Museum in London Canal
Well,
Museum.
it was the Barge Association actually had a book review in their newsletter for this book, and I went, that sounds perfect for us. And so, I was able to order it from the London Canal Museum. They sent it out really quickly, and it's a really nice hardcover book.
And the book is about the history of barges during World War One. So we know that during World War One, the Allies named their boats AS, which we suspect was auxiliary support. We don't really know.
Or auxiliary supply.
Not sure. We're still trying to find that out. But AS 270 You'll see photos in the book. I'll share a couple online. You know, I've seen other AS boats. Some of them were used as hotel boats, as hospitals.
Sort of hotels for sick people.
Hotels for sick people. Well, if you go back into history here in
With
Ghent,
drugs.
well, no, if you go back in history in Ghent, the original hospitals were hotels, weren't they? Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. The boats. So anyway, she was used in World War One. So that's kind of cool. Then in 1922, she moved to Lokeren in Belgium. And in Lokeren, she was owned by an Arthur Calabert, or Calabert, I think someone told me, corrected me yesterday. Calabou. Anyway, a nice Belgian name. Arthur had two children, Albert and Simone, and he named the boat the Albert Simone. So from 1922 through till roughly I think actually probably almost up to 1980. So for the longest period of her history, she was in fact called Albert Simone. I will note that it's a very Australian, American / British thing to call boats female. That's not the same in other countries. In Belgium, not necessarily the case. So quite common that boats will get a male name like Albert Simone. But anyway, that was named after his two children. We know that his son Albert also took over from him and operated the Albert Simone out of Lokeren. And then she was a commercial boat. She was carrying coal, spreet, which is a form of brown coal, I think some steel, sand, basically just dry goods back and forwards from Antwerp to Lokeren. And then she sort of disappears for a period of time. We know that Albert died, and we think it's his widow that then owned it. And someone suggested, which is quite likely because you see a lot of these boats, the family live on them. It's quite likely that his widow lived on the boat for a period of time. And then eventually she probably also died. The boat goes derelict and then it just disappears. In the records, it's just called Clipper, or the boat is a Clipper. So that probably suggests that it was owned by the government at that point in time. Like, you know, it's something that's derelict that they've taken possession of. And then she gets bought by
Jim and Karine, which is sort of weird because it's Tim and Karina. So it's kind of
another fake
interesting little thing where they were the Marritts and they had owned a previous hotel barge, a small one, and then purchased Clair de Lune and had it refurbished and refitted and extended to turn into their dream boat. So we're lucky in that we've got like the expertise of previous hoteliers who went into the design of Clair de Lune as she was. So.
Yeah, and she has a lot of systems that are set up well for a hotel boat. Some of them are old and we're obviously refurbishing them, but a lot of it, you know, carries through the design with the ensuite bathrooms for the cabins, the size of the hydrofoil, sort of, you know, producing the pressure for the water system. All of this is great for
instant hot water and then longer term hot water, tons of water storage, and just kind of like quality finishings and quality equipment. Even though it's old, you know, we've had people look at our macerator, for example, and go, "Oh no, you've got to keep that. That's a really good one." So,
and so that's when she was named Clair de Lune, and she was moved from Belgium to France. This is roughly 1995. From 1995 up until now, she has been Clair de Lune, and she has operated for a while operated as a hotel barge out of Saint-Symphyon, I think it's called. Anyway, near Dijon in France, in Burgundy, and then converted back to being residential. So stopped being used for hotel work, converted to residential, and then owned by a couple of different people, and then most recently Dominique and Armel, who were the people that we bought the boat from. So that's kind of the history, and then why the name Delfine?
Delfine, well, it was interesting coming up with a new name. It's like kind of naming a child or a pet. You know, something that you know is going to stick for a while, and will people make fun of you, and is it rude in another language? So we did put a lot of thought into it. We had some early iterations that we sent out to our friend group to try and get, you know, a feeling of what do you like. My sort of Dutch history is sort of based in the canal life, I guess. So my great grandmother was no, maybe not my great
Your
grandmother. My grandmother, grandmother had the name Geraldina and Swantina. So they were sort of thrown about internally for a while. Could the boat be Swantina? You know, it's a swan on the water. That could work.
Yeah.
Nice tie back to my family history. We also quite got attached to the name Poppy for a while, just something to do with, you know, being in the Flanders region, and it's a very kind of cheerful, happy flower, and we just kind of liked that name. And then
But
again,
it didn't test very well.
yeah, floated that, and some people loved it, and then ultimately our daughter just said, no, it sounds like a dog's name. So, no, that was out. So we tried a few things, and then when we came up with Delfine, we told nobody, like really nobody.
Yeah. And
Because
Delfine,
we loved it a lot, and we
Yeah.
tried it out for a while, like, how does this feel? Does it work? You know, is it easy to spell? Does it work across all languages?
so it's not easy to, it is easy to spell, but we've chosen the Flemish spelling of it, so it's Delfine, Delfine, instead of PH. And it's a very, you know, Flemish name. That's one of the things that we wanted. I mean, we're operating in Belgium, and more specifically operating in the Flemish part, the Dutch-speaking part. We wanted a Dutch name to kind of reflect the heritage of what we've been learning about the boat as well. So, you know, Clair de Lune was a great name and served it very well for a period of time. But we're doing something different, and we're carrying sort of forward in a new region, and Delfine.
And I think you came up with it.
I'm not
I
sure
think,
now,
you know what,
but-
we started to Google female Flemish names, you know, and then we hit Delphine spelled with a PH because there is a Princess Delphine here in Belgium.
Controversial because she's a bastard princess. Not legitimate.
Yeah, thank you.
outside of the marriage.
Yes.
Although she's now
A love
officially
child,
recognised.
maybe.
But she's considered fairly
Modern,
alternative, modern, fairly
artistic.
radical, artistic. And then there was also a boxer with that spelling, Delfine, female boxer from Belgium. And both of those kind of, we liked that sort of, I don't want to say that fighting spirit, but that sort
That
of
strong female
identity, alternative kind
very
of...
Flemish.
Yeah, very Flemish, alternative sort of vibe, which is what we're after. You know, this market, we think, with hotel barges and with cruising is changing. So it's traditionally been a very kind of...
upper echelons, luxury.
Yeah, well, we still want to be upper echelon and luxury, but it's more been sort of lacy, for want of a better word. You know, it's that sort of champagne, traditional, old-fashioned kind of thing. And, you know, those people that were doing those holidays are aging out, right? And there's a newer generation of people starting to look for this sort of experience. And we think, and we're hoping, that what they're looking for is something that's a little bit more beer and chocolate.
Yeah, and maybe they're not even looking for the experience, but we just want to like put it out there and just think of it as an alternative family holiday or an alternative getaway, something a little bit different. How can I explore Belgium from the water, you know, instead of just trains in and out of the main attractions and then gone?
Yeah.
It's like a little more leisurely, a little more luxury.
And it's all about discovery.
And yes, Tim, you know, as you know, his blog's Insatiably Curious, a very curious man. We kind of wanted to tap into that side of his personality too, in that we want to sort of squeeze or inject some real education into these cruises. So if you're interested in, you know, World War I history, we can talk about that. Or is it the medieval history? Or is it just how is chocolate made? Or what is the best beer? You know, what are the different sources for frites? You know, like we really want to help people discover the real Belgium.
And that's that's where the name of the company kind of fits in. So we've created the company we created is called Discover by Barge, and with Delfine, our sort of tagline is Discover More. So we have Delfine, Discover More, and that's kind of the experience that we're trying to deliver. So that's it. We didn't want to talk too long, really.
Oh, actually, no.
There's one other thing.
There is one other reason why Delfine kind of resonated. It's because the origin of the name comes from dolphin.
Oh, yeah.
And for us, it's like a little bit of a tie back to Greece, because on our boat in Greece, we would see dolphins.
Yeah.
And dolphins just make you very excited. I don't know what it is about them, but you've got to resist the urge to shriek when you see them.
So there's
a sort of nice idea that there's a dolphin still in our lives.
Yeah. So that's us. We're going to continue creating these videos. I don't exactly think we're quite YouTube stars. I'm certainly not investing heavily in the production quality. It's more just like recording things as I go and sharing them, but people seem to be enjoying it, and we're certainly enjoying having the record of what we're doing. So we hope you continue along, follow us with our journey, and maybe we'll see you aboard Delfine one day.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.